Hey everybody, happy Vlogmas. Welcome back to my channel. This is Allie with Crooked Nature. I just wanted to give you guys a quick video today. This is kind of a makeup for yesterday. I've been really sick and getting over it finally. Slowly, okay, not exactly, but I'm starting to get better, which is great. I'm moving around. I'm not dizzy. I don't feel like I'm gonna die anymore. Wasn't COVID, unfortunately. It was just some kind of horrible, okay, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever. It's just some kind of horrible lingering stomach virus that affected me really poorly because I have diverticulosis. You don't know what that is? Good deal. You don't want to know. It's really affected my life pretty poorly, especially since I've been living with it for a very long time. You usually don't get a diagnosis of that until you're in your mid to late 30s. I got it in my early 20s. It's due to a long, complicated situation and poor childhood nutrition. It's very important that you feed your kids, guys. Okay, so we're gonna get back to this, and I just wanted to show you guys a really cool plant. This is the baby rubber plant, and this is a Peperomia obtusifolia, okay? And it is just doing fantastic. This guy requires little to no care. They like neglect. They do get some pests, scale, mealybugs, probably thrips, aphids, and different things. You can see something was munching on it right here, if you can see that. Munching. Their leaves are super thick and waxy. They're I've seen people mistake these for a Hoya, and that's because of how waxy they are and how interesting the leaves are. But they are a peperomia, which means these guys are non-toxic too. So if you have pets or kids, this is not going to be something that's going to bother them, even if they decide they're going to eat a leaf. All right, they're going to be okay. They may not feel great, but they are definitely not going to die from it. And in fact, there are several species, and there's like, I don't even know. There's so many species of peperomia that it's insane. They are all non-toxic, by the way. And a chunk of them are medicinal. So that if you have an upset stomach and you eat one, you might actually feel better. Don't do that. I'm not recommending that, okay? But I am saying that that's something that could possibly happen. I think this guy might be trying to have some mealybugs. That's always possible, and that's okay. These guys really do thrive on some awesome neglect. They sit out of the way under a really mild grow light, and they really have just grown like crazy for me, and I love it. I think it's absolutely awesome. I had some variegated baby rubber plants, and I didn't really like them very much. I didn't like the growth pattern. Like, it grows about the same as this thing, a little bit slower. I just didn't find the leaf coloring appealing, the variegation. I just didn't like it. It looked weird. It kind of looked like a, I don't know if you've ever seen a peperomia Ginny. Or not peperomia Ginny. Philodendron Ginny, I think is what it is. I can't remember. It's a Ginny. Ginny. And I did not like the way that plant looked either. I had one, and it was real piddly. Like, it didn't seem like it was strong, sturdy, didn't grow well. Was really unhappy with its weakness in general. I'm like, I don't want a plant that can't survive a little bit of neglect. That's not how that's not how I roll. So I went ahead and let them just go ahead and let them die off because they were really poorly doing, and the leaves were small, they were malformed. It didn't seem to be doing well under my milder grow light. So like I said, I went ahead and let it die off and kept my green ones, and I just love it. I think their leaves have got some amazing, they're just green, but they have these little, the lines on the leaves and the texture and the way that it feels is really cool. It's very awesome, and it's also understandable that some people think this is a Hoya because sometimes the leaves actually do come out a slight bit heart-shaped. Can you see? You might not be able to see the heart-shaped leaf down here. That's okay. And that actually makes it look a lot like a Hoya caryi. Just not like a lot, but like just that leaf. Just that one leaf. And this would actually probably be a little bit greener if I gave it some healthier light. Moved it out from under my mild grow light, under my double here. But I'm not going to do that because I don't have room, and it doesn't need it anywhere nearly as much as like these variegated guys down here, if you can see them. I'm really happy to show you guys this plant. Like I said, this is a baby rubber plant. It is a type of peperomia. It is Peperomia obtusifolia. In case you've never heard it before, I probably won't put it on the screen, but I might. Um, it's an excellent plant. It grows super, super easy. You can put it in a low light spot and it's still going to keep growing. It won't be super fast, but it'll still keep growing and it's not going to lose all of its leaves. This is a succulent type of plant, so it does need water. All plants need water. If you buy a plant and it says this guy doesn't really need water, don't buy that plant. Somebody really didn't put a lot of thought into their instructions. Some plants don't need much water, and that would generally be the cactus varieties and things like that. But then you're going to find in your home, when you have those cactus varieties, they get so dry that your cactus dies. And you're like, oh, I thought I didn't need to water it. Yeah, and you really did apparently need to water it. And that's okay. It happens. Plants die. They do. And you feel bad about it. But at the same time, you got to learn from your mistakes. You have to learn from them and do a little bit better next time. So, like, these guys really don't take much water to be happy. And when they're unhappy, they don't really droop very much. This guy right here might have been suffering from some need of water. But I also think it might be suffering from a need of stronger light. And it's leaning out because it was leaning out away from the light that it's under towards this light here. So maybe I should consider at least moving another hanging light over there to help them out. And I might do that actually. Just found a spare hanging light in my closet that's like, I don't know, it's like 3200 lumens or something like that, which it's not a grow light, but it will still help support all of my plants and make them a lot happier in their little area down here. And it'll also help, even though it's an LED, it will still provide small amounts of warmth. So if you're going with LED grow lights, you might actually really need a heater or heat mat, heating pad or whatever for your plants, just to keep them from having issues where they get too cold and they start to die off, they stunt, or you start getting like really unusual growth where the leaves just look really funky, and it may be cold damage, believe it or not. And if you're paying attention to your leaves, you'll see it. And this one here might have had some cold damage. I can see a splotch on it that's like super dark, and that would be one thing that really doesn't do well for these plants is cold. Okay, they're from like Florida. I want to say Florida, Mexico, and the Caribbean is where they're native to. And that's awesome, actually. That just means that they're from really warm areas and they need to be kept warm. You don't want to put these guys over a drafty vent or an air return where it's sucking colder air back in to push out the heater. You don't want to put it by a heat vent because too much heat's going to make them die too. So just be aware that maybe if you have older windows that are like single pane, sucks, but it happens when you're in an older house and stuff like that and it hasn't been redone. Those single pane windows will really let a lot of cold into the plant that's right there near it and kill it. And that's okay too. Sometimes that happens and you're gonna learn and you're gonna be like, oh, I put it in the wrong place, shouldn't have done that. That's okay. Another thing about these guys is that they reproduce really well. I haven't had any babies come up out of here, but if I wanted to, they are covered in growth nodes and growth points that have roots already, like little mini aerial roots trying to come out of them, and they actually look really good. I could take these and every little node here would be a new plant if I wanted it to be, and that's a lot of growth. Actually, there's a lot of nodes on this, and it is, like I said, it's very healthy. And from what I know, they will absolutely root in water, like really well. And I'm like, that's awesome. Water rooting is good, but you always want to remember that if your cutting has been in water, you need more water when you pot it. Just in the beginning. Don't drown it, but you got to keep that soil real wet because it's been in water. It's not used to dry soil. So you want your soil to be wet when you put your cuttings into it, and you want to kind of ease off watering it over the first like 2 weeks to a month. And it'll do really well. And also, if your cutting is in water and the roots are longer than about 3 or 4 inches, you may have already waited too long and it may not survive being potted. Now that's okay. Some plants will survive in water for a very, very, very long time. This samurai is going on 2 years in water and is doing pretty well. It's actually got a lot of growth down in there. There was very, very little root structure to this whenever I got it, and I was going to repot it because the soil that was in had a funny smell. And anytime you get a potted plant and if it has a funny smell, you need to repot it. You got bugs, you got mold, you got wet dirt that's never going to dry out, and your plant's going to die anyway. If it smells funny when you get it, and it's not supposed to smell funny, like the plant itself has a smell, you should repot it. Okay, just for your sake of peace of mind that you are giving your plant an actual chance at life. Most people do not buy their plants from nurseries. They buy them from big box stores, okay? Do you know why? Because they're convenient and they're what's around. It's harder to find nurseries. Nurseries are expensive. And when you live in the middle of the country like I do, there just aren't any that aren't for farm regular vegetation. Tomatoes and herbs and zucchini, things like that, green beans and stuff. That you can find. Trees you can find. Ornamental things for outside you can find. But unique houseplants is much harder. So if you're getting a houseplant, and it most likely came from Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, anywhere that's got just a garden center that's part of a regular store, it's usually where you're going to find nicer, awesomer plants and stuff like that. But they don't really take very good care of them unless they actually got somebody in who really knows a lot about plants. And even if they did, usually that person gets relegated to doing something else, relocated to doing something else that they're good at, because the basic plant care isn't cared about as much, even though they're wasting money by not caring for those plants and letting them go to crap before they sell, and then just getting marked down to clearance. I do it all the time. I'm not going to complain about clearance plants, but I am going to complain about the fact that they don't let their people take care of plants, nor do they teach them how. That bothers me, all right? That really bothers me. And if you guys are going to have a garden center in the first place, why aren't you taking care of them? It's fine. Anyway, these guys are really cool. Should you come across one in a store, they're really, really worth buying. They're worth buying at a cheap price. If you're paying $20 and it's a good sized pot and it's full, you got a good deal and you definitely paid what you should have. If you're paying $60 for this little guy right here, you got ripped off. I apologize for making you feel bad, but you did. You got ripped off, and they should feel bad for themselves for doing that. I don't think plants should be that expensive. I know that there are a lot of really, really expensive plants that are awesome, and maybe they're really worth that money. I don't think so. I think I'm very happy with unusual, unique plants that I can afford. One of my favorite things is to go online and buy seeds for different things and then germinate them and see what grows. My favorite plant that I've ever germinated from seed, and I don't have it anymore because I did have a mealybug outbreak and it took it, and I was so upset about it, is a telegraph plant, a dancing plant. I hope that somebody sees this and looks them up and is like, that is the most amazing thing I've ever seen, okay? It is a plant that moves on its own, all right? Well, it moves. It's a plant that moves, and it doesn't just move a little bit at a little bit of a time. No, you can sit there and watch it dancing and moving, and it's so cool. Anyway, you guys have a good day. Explore weird plants. Thank you. Happy Vlogmas.